每年到这个时候，最期待的事情就是让平台分析我们最受欢迎的单元是什么了。So, let's take a look. Hello, 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast. I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. I think everyone is posting their Spotify wrap-up on their Instagram stories or anywhere else on Facebook. So we dived into our own Spotify podcast wrap-up, looking at where our top listeners were, how we grew, and all the other fun little metrics. But one thing that we wanted to do, which we've done in the past, is kind of review what were our top episodes of the year. And some of them really surprised us, but a few others were like, yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely. 我觉得每一年到这个时候，我们在看数据的都会蛮 surprised. I mean, it's always a pleasant surprise. 因为其实当我们在做这些 planning, recording, editing 的时候，有的时候我们做完 editing， 其实我们就有点就是 let it go let it have its own life 所以我们并不知道并没有办法真的很确切去 predict 说哪一个主题是真的能够让大家很喜欢的 So, this time we took a look at Spotify and First Story and we found a list of really popular episodes over the year and we wanted to share it with you guys today.So
after looking at Spotify, Apple, Google, just a smattering of everywhere that you can find our podcast, here's the list that we came up with. Our most listened episode was actually an interview we did on ESG.
Now, this is a little insider information. 其实要做 interview, 我觉得大家可以猜得到啦. It's not easy. It's a lot of planning.It's a lot of cutting, editing. So, 但是我发现其实真的大家都非常喜欢 interview 的部分。那这个也是蛮 surprising, 因为 ESG 这个单元这个主题并不是我们过往会去做的，但是当然因为今年有很多类似的一些新闻 and then we decided to kind of go into this topic. And I believe this is an episode where we interview a founder of a ESG company.And yeah, definitely it's kind of a nice surprise for us. And hopefully we're able to provide some insights about ESG.
Yeah, actually every year when we go back and recap what our most popular episodes are, I'd say of the top 10, 5 of those are usually interviews. Now, unfortunately, in the last quarter, we really haven't had the time to sit down and do the quality interviews that we like.Hopefully we'll get back to that early next year. But I think what makes an interview so great, like in this case, when we're interviewing the founder of Seneca, this is not a topic that we're experts in, but it is something that people have heard a lot about. And having an insider talk about two things. One, what is the real insider information on ESG? How's it getting measured? How do different companies really think about it? What are the challenges? I think he dived a lot into that. We talk about ESG a lot. It's in the news a lot. But to be honest, it's a Wild West frontier. It's really not that standardized. It's really not that clear. And I think that kind of gives people like, oh, I didn't know this piece. The other thing that was fun about that is he told us his founder story as someone who, went through a few failed startups and was a bit discouraged and then found this new thing and that sort of epiphany moment of like, oh, this is real. People really care about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely had a lot of fun recording that episode. And just to listen to, what is ESG actually about and what the future of ESG going to be. So the second popular episode, this is a surprising one as well, is 289跟 cheese 品牌学习沟通.
This was the shocking one to us because we did the whole month on the language of luxury, and we just sort of randomly chose a cheese company that happened to be one of Andrew's friends, was like the head of marketing, and he was in Taiwan randomly. And so we broke this one apart, and we didn't think much about it, but really that month on the language of luxury as a whole, a lot of our top episodes came from that. But the cheese one, I was just like, how do you take a common everyday item and make it sound high class?
Yeah. And I remember the way we did that episode was to actually look at the website. We went through the webpage and just break it down as to how they present the information. 所以我们也讲到一点点的 framing, 还有它的 structure, 再讲到它所用的字. I think 在那个月我们当然真的去 deep dive explore 非常多的一些字，如何让你的英文听起来更 sophisticated, 更奢华. Again, this is a surprise, and this gives me an inspiration. Maybe we can do more of this in the future.
Yeah, I think taking apart the unexpected and having some fun with it. And I think also what made the cheese episode really interesting is we did it later in the month, and it sort of turned out to be a culmination of all the other stuff we talked in that month that made luxury brands like Hermes sound so fancy and amazing, and that all the lessons we had covered just happened to come together really well when talking about artisan cheese.
Right. 我觉得那个月我真的，虽然我们要花很多时间做非常多功课，但是学习到了很多. We not only just look at the words, but we look at the pattern and how it sound, what it look like, what's the visual necessity for a luxury brand would look like. 我觉得这些或许也是因为为什么这些单元都特别的 popular 的原因. So the third most popular episode, according to all the platforms analytics, is 295, 也就是如何回应对方的冷淡.
And this one started off with an interesting premise, which is that, young kids or teenagers, or in Sherry's case, preteens, have this like, I don't care attitude, like, whatever you want, I don't really care. And so we explored, how do you handle this situation where someone is showing indifference or that they're not really caring about something that matters to you a lot? How do you handle that and how do you respond?
Right. 我记得我们在这个 episode 里面有讲到一个字，就是 indifferent. 其实我觉得不管是小朋友啊 teenager 甚至到成人，你一定会碰到别人对于一个 decision 是非常的 indifferent. Like there will be like whatever you say. 但是其实到最后你会发现 they do have an opinion. They do have, a preference to this decision. 但是你要怎么样去 approach? And then I think a lot of this also comes from the generation gap in the workforce. A lot of slightly seasoned workers and employers or executives always have a bit of a hard time communicating with younger, more junior level of employees. So I do think this applies to the work life as well.
The next episode that really struck people, and it's something that I think from that moment until now, we've just pressed upon over and over again, which is, how do you ask your boss a question? And the framing of how we talked about that is in one-on-ones, meaning is when you're having a focused one-on-one, let's say weekly or monthly conversation with your boss, or even when you just get a moment to have a more intimate conversation, what can you ask your boss in order to get a better understanding or insight into their thinking and how they're evaluating, say, your performance or evaluating what's going on in the company?
从 第299的单元，其实开始我们就常常的去提到了 one-on-one 的重要性。那不管是从老板的角度或者从员工的角度也好，你到底要怎么样去执行这个 one-on-one， 而且让它真的是很有价值的。Now, I think for this one, we specifically target and caters to the employees or going into the one-on-one situations by just providing a lot of really good questions. Like you are allowed to ask a lot of great questions and get the most value out of that. So for example, like ask for guidance and input. And also you wanted to clarify a lot of priorities and expectations because, you know, your executives or your boss may get too busy to even know your schedule or just to align with organization and the company strategy.
And you can tell that we got passionate about this topic, just the fact that it came up over and over again. We did a whole month on our favorite management books and tools and advice. And that really came together with this thing kicking it off.
Right.
Conversations. Your boss and your relationship should not be a one-way street. I think in a lot of traditional Taiwanese companies or Asian companies, people feel that way. But that if you're working for an international company, if you intend to go abroad, it is important to open up that two-way street and really understand that whether it's self-advocating or just asking the right question, it's important to speak up.
Now, the next very popular episode is actually very different. 它也是在我们的Language of Luxury 的单元其中之一，是第288集，也就是用说英文用法文。And I remember that episode we had Andrew with us because he speaks French, so we definitely need someone who can pronounce all these different French words. But we explored a lot of different French words and why is it that when you're in the upper class or you're in this like fashion and luxury world, they tend to use a lot of French. And we kind of explore the history of it and also the specific words.
Yeah, this one was really fun from the standpoint of hearing the proper way to do it. Because, you cannot look up a luxury brand without them having French words thrown in there. Now, arguably, a lot of luxury brands are French, so for them it's just natural, but it's just something that you see over and over again. And I do have to testify, is like, in the US, we kind of see someone learning French as like, oh, that's so stereotypical and like kind of basic. But then I was in Paris a couple months ago. And when you are there and you just listen to French people speak, especially because I was specifically attending a beauty conference, I did go into some like boutiques or more Parisian brand stores. And when you hear them talk about it, you're just like, yeah, okay. I want to learn French. I want to know how to talk about this.
So now, according to Spotify, our most popular episode was actually episode 253, 253集，也就是职场必要沟通技巧，专门是对于 self-advocating。那我还记得这个单元其实它是 part of the series， 那个 series 正好是今年的年初我们做的。那个时候年初我们就分析了一些 labor market 的一些动向，然后我们也提出了很多实际的沟通技巧，不管是对于主管也好，或者是员工也好。And this one specifically, obviously, we talk about self-advocating because I think we mentioned in the report that talent retention was definitely really important for the labor market. But how do you set yourself apart from other high performers?
Right. So I think there was like an interesting dichotomy where there was lots of layoffs, but then also talent retention of your highest performers, because if the company is removing a lot of people as a whole, you still need your top performance to remain. So it was one of those things where employees were both worried about job security, but at the same time, if you have a good reputation, if you're a high performer in the company, you had a lot of leverage. And so self-advocating and really talking about yourself to be like, I am a value here. I am someone that not only you should try hard to keep, but in fact, you should give me more because I am bringing so much to the table.
Interestingly, this also has to do with one-on-one as well. So in the episode, we talk about how do you schedule an appointment with your boss, find a good time to do it, and talk about what you have achieved in the past that is associated with your goals specifically, and talk about your desire, what you need to tie to that goal. 所以蛮有趣的就是我们在今年2023年真的 explore 了蛮多像这种 self-advocating 如何跟老板 one-on-one 问对的问题，然后呢就是能够去更了解自己的需求，也能够让你的老板了解你的需求。
Well, we hope that you've enjoyed this short recap on some of our more popular episodes this year. For a refresher, we just recommend you go back, take a listen to these specific episodes again. They do highlight just an eclectic mix, but some topics that are very close to our heart, whether it's something fun like the language of luxury or something more serious about how you have more two-way street conversations with, say, your boss.
Yeah. And most importantly, guys, happy holidays. I know Christmas is upon us. And in the past, we have done a lot of Christmas-related episodes, right? I think we talked about songs and poems and stories in the past. But I think this year we decided to talk about these popular episodes to kind of wrap it up. And Nick is actually leaving for his hometown as well next week.
Yeah, so I'm going to go enjoy hopefully a white Christmas, which Colorado is known for, and a more American Christmas vibe. But of course, we will still be with you throughout the end of this year and early into next. So happy holidays, everyone. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye. The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production. Produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.